Hey guys, this is Rafael Zik, and welcome to your 8th HTML5 tutorial for beginners. In this tutorial, we're going to learn a little bit about external style sheets. In the last tutorial, we learned about internal style sheets, and we have here the style tag. And you see how inside the style tag we have the H1 and whatever else that we want to do, we could put inside of here, and we could take the elements and add attributes. That's a lot better than the other way of doing it, where you actually go to each individual element and style it in line, like we learned originally. But the problem with the internal style sheet is that it's not the best solution. The reason is usually most websites have more than one page, and most websites also have pretty long style sheets. And when you have a big style sheet, to have that huge amount of code inside your HTML page and to have it inside of every single HTML page that you have is not efficient in the least. So the better way of doing it is to use something called an external style sheet. And to use an external style sheet, we're going to do something, and we're going to create a folder called CSS, which I have here already. It's a good idea in general to organize your code in a way that's readable, and that most people organize their code in that way. To be honest, I should actually have this image folder inside of our CSS folder. And the way that I usually see people do it is you're going to have your image folder inside of your CSS folder, and you're going to have your font folder is actually usually separate for whatever reason. So if we go inside of this CSS, we're now going to create another file, and we're going to call it style.css. And that's going to be our default style sheet and our main style sheet. So let's go back to our HTML, and let's cut out this style here, and let's put it inside of our style sheet. And CSS, by the way, stands for cascading style sheet. So we have here our style, and we're going to save this. And now let's take a look at the website. Okay, let's take a look at our website now. You notice our styling is gone. And the reason for that is because there's nothing in our HTML file that is telling our browser to take this style.css sheet or to display this style.css sheet. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a link. And we're going to do that by using the syntax link rel, and this means link relation equals style sheet. So this is telling our browser that the kind of link that we're going to be linking is a style sheet. And the href, or the hypertext reference, is going to be css/style.css. And I realized that I didn't go into enough detail before about some basic things in HTML and HTML5. So in the next video, we're going to cover a few more HTML and HTML5 basics as well. So let's go now to the style sheet, to the website. And you notice our style is now showing, because this link relation and hypertext reference is telling our browser to take this style sheet and use what's in this style sheet to display everything on this page. So that's actually really cool, and something that's really nice. Now there's a couple of things that I do want to go over quickly, just to give some basics to HTML and CSS that we didn't go over before. The first thing I want to go over, and we could just get rid of this inline style here because there's really no purpose for that. The first thing we're going to go over, and let's just delete a lot of this code, so we just have some more space to work with. And what I want to go over here first is we're going to discuss div and span. Now div and span are elements that are going, div and span are tags that are going to allow us to define content inside of it and tell it how to display. And usually this works by adding a class or an ID, and we'll get into that in the next video. But just so you understand the difference though between div and span is, let's say you have a div here and you say div class equals, and here we could say error. We'll use the div class error, and we did this before with the p class. And inside we're going to write error. If we go to style and we create our error again, and we add the attribute color, red, you see here we have error under a paragraph. Now what if we made two div classes, or two divs? So if we make another div, this is another div. You notice how it goes under it. Now the other element or tag that you're going to be using is span. Now span can also call class and it could call ID like div, but span is different, and I'll show you how. Span, this is a span, and we're going to make another span. This is also a span. If you notice, they're on the same line, and the reason for that is that spans are what's called inline and divs are block elements. The difference between a block element and a span element is that block elements go one right after the other. Block elements don't stay on the same line, and inline elements stay inside of the same line. So for example, if we went in here and we just said, we could actually we could override this and say div, and we could just say display inline, and we could say, we actually don't even need important, and you notice that it now displays inline. But the default functionality of it is display block, and in general you should use it in that context, unless you want to make specific classes or you have some specific reason to use a different method. So that's just a basic intro into using CSS with HTML and using external style sheets with HTML5. And in the next tutorial, we're going to get into some more specifics with HTML and also some specifics with HTML5 specifically. So stay tuned.